are you? How the heck are you?
We're going to do a podcast.
So let's get a little deeper into your story, shall we? Who are you?
Well, that becomes a sticky wicket.
You know, what's your juice? Let's get back on track. You've got a lot of things going on. What is it that you're curious about? You know, when you're doing
run the world.
right? Well,
Like, let's crumble up some philosophy for you.
boom, 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 boom. It's been a whirlwind for you. What is it that supercharges you about this? Lots going on, lots coming up. Or is that too many stuff? Did I ask too many questions?
No, not too many questions.
Hey there, everybody out there in Etherland. Welcome back to the Chamber podcast, Mind Your Own Business. I'm Moe Belliveau, the Executive Director of the Chamber, and I'm excited to be here today at eMedia, who is our partner in this project, so we thank them very much. In particular, Jason Foote, production coordinator, and Tim Riley, who is operations manager. And today we have with us for episode 7, their fearless leader, executive director, Jeff Mastroianni. And we're very excited to be here with him today and getting a glimpse into who he is and a glimpse into eMedia, who they are, what they do, and why they do it. So shall we begin?
We shall.
Excellent. So, Jeff, let's get right in. How the heck are you today?
I'm doing pretty all right, Mo.
Excellent.
I'm managing to stay healthy and,
Yay.
in this quasi-winter, whatever it is now.
It's actually cold out today.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been a weird one for sure. So let's start off with exploring a little bit, shall we, as to who you are. Give us a little brief
Who am I?
bio.
I'm asking myself that.
Well, it is the
time.
existential
Trying to
question, is it not?
Distill that.
Who am I?
Well, I am the executive director of Easthampton Media.
Yes, you are.
eMedia, as we've currently rebranded.
Yes. How's everybody responding to your new rebrand?
Well, we haven't really hit the ground running with it yet.
Okay.
Only because of the fact that there were a couple of things that needed to fall into place. Like we needed to do website.
Uh-huh. Is that
And
done?
the websites it's very close.
Oh, good.
It's imminent at
Yep.
this point. Like we're a couple of weeks out probably.
Pending.
So, as you know, that kind of tends to be the hub, the linchpin for all of our other social media and all these other things. And,
Right.
And so,
There's a lot going on there.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that though too.
Yeah. And so, there are a lot of things that have happened over the course of the last year. And I just celebrated my first year in November.
Yay. Where were you before you came here?
I was actually in Amherst at Amherst Media.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the director of media technologies, production coordinator, intern coordinator, custodian.
Everybody coordinator.
Nonprofit world, right?
Yeah, yes, I
This is
understand.
how it works. And then this job opened up and I jumped right on it.
Nice.
So actually I had gotten the job posting from my former director from my time in Brattleboro.
Nice.
That's where I started my our community media journey was at Brattleboro Community Television.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there for 5 years full time. I had actually volunteered with them for about 4 years.
This is Brattleboro.
Previously.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I split for a little while, jumped back into the for-profit nightmare land doing
Corporate world.
AV systems integrations and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the job at Amherst opened up.
Nice.
So that's how I landed down here in the valley. And
Nice. Do you live here in Easthampton or?
actually, I live in Belchertown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you have a little bit of a ride.
Not bad. It's
No.
a nice ride, actually.
It's a nice ride.
Yeah,
Have your coffee.
Listen to some podcasts.
Sort out your day.
Right.
Listen to some
Decompress,
podcasts.
recompress. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. So now you've got a year behind you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, what is Easthampton Media's or eMedia's mission?
So officially, our mission is to empower members of our community to become digital media content creators, to give a voice to the voiceless. That seems to be kind of a nebulous thing, but
It is.
to give people the opportunity to have the tools and the training to create real professional, depending on how far they want to take it.
Right.
Digital content. We offer pretty much everything you'd want to have, short of like professional grade cinema cameras. I mean, we've got obviously this studio.
Yeah, which is very cool. I love being here.
Yeah, it's a great space. It's an extremely versatile space.
Yep.
We are moments away from a production at any given time. Somebody could walk in here
at the drop of a hat.
At the drop of a hat. Jackson can be on it and fire up the cameras and the lights.
I love that about Jackson.
He's doing a great job.
Yeah. So, excellent.
But we've moved into podcasting. We now have an actual podcasting studio. You have sort of pioneered that for us here.
Yay.
Obviously you are trending a little bit more with modern trends and doing it as a video podcast.
Yep.
And not just audio, but we do have a really nice audio podcasting / voiceover / whatever.
It's pretty cool.
Space that we just opened. We're making some serious investments right now in new equipment.
Okay. We're going to get to that.
Yeah.
I want to talk about how your mission as it is today and what is your vision for eMedia and how are you tying those two together?
So, where we are in the world right now, obviously coming out of the pandemic, everything shut down. Which
someday there's going to come a point
when we
stop talking about that.
Right. I don't know when that'll be.
Me either. But wouldn't it be nice? It's coming.
It would be nice.
Yikes.
But we have to acknowledge the fact that that brought operations to a standstill.
And I try not to bring it up anymore in conversation, but it's in particular when I'm having these conversations.
Yeah.
But it's almost unavoidable.
Right. For us, however, and us being folks working in community media, it really changed things. So where our mission was, on one hand, we are sort of the default kind of archivists for the communities, where we're there to videotape and record events, things that are happening, municipal meetings, all of those things, rebroadcast them, put them out there for the world on demand. And then also, on the other hand, being this facility, this resource for the community to both bring in folks, to train them to do things that they would like to do, to be a resource for other nonprofit organizations, for instance, to help them create promotional things for themselves, to help them further their mission in the community, provide reasonable production services for events like you have.
Yes, for the
the
Women's Leadership Conference she leads, and most recently you helped us with Ignite and help us to put a piece of that out into the world, which is, it's actually really important that you bring that up because you really have been a great partner in helping us tell the Chamber's story and getting it out into the world, and it's a slow and steady process, but you've been a firm and steady partner, so that we really appreciate that.
Yeah. And it's important that we stay relevant in that way.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we've done a great job, and by we, again, going back to sort of the royal we as public access centers,
right?
We haven't done a great job of promoting ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that there are a lot of people that are still unaware of the fact that we're here, that we have this place, that we have the facility, the equipment, the expertise, that sort of thing. And for a fraction of the cost, for even just a camera, right? You can come in here, become a member, get trained. You have this place. You have all of the equipment, everything at your disposal,
right?
And you could do whatever you'd like.
So you've used a couple of terms. You used community access and community media. Yeah. Can you help us understand what you think the difference between those two are?
They're actually the same, and it's just because we had been PEG access, which is the designation for the channels that we broadcast, the types of content that we create. There are essentially 3: public education and government, right? So that was the PEG.
Oh, I see.
So forever it had been PEG access.
Yes.
And then it was community access or public access. And now we're moving to the community media. But I still kind of slip up occasionally.
Sure.
And combine them.
Okay.
So it's the same thing.
Okay.
It's all the same.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And does every community have a community access organization within them?
Maybe not in the community, but certainly within a reasonable proximity, I would say.
Mm-hmm. So not every town
Not every town does have their own, but I think, so for instance, like Brattleboro, we were regional.
Right.
We covered 8 towns.
Uh-huh.
So while we were Brattleboro Community Brattleboro Community Television, we also covered, the 8 surrounding towns, municipal meetings and all that stuff. So we were sort of the hub for that area. So that's a typical scenario as well.
I just feel like we're lucky here in Easthampton. I was thinking about that actually this morning too.
Yeah.
I don't recall many, and maybe it could have been just an awareness problem, but I don't recall many other communities that I have been in that actually had access media.
Certainly the size of the community is a contributing factor.
Yeah.
Given the fact that we are essentially funded by the
I think it's so cool. It's so
companies. Yeah. I mean, we've been around a long time. Not we.
Yeah.
Actually, we're fairly young. Actually, quite young.
E-media you're talking about.
Yeah. E-media is, depending on who you talk to, I think we were incorporated officially in like 2007.
Really?
As Easthampton Media. And then we existed as ECAT, Easthampton Community Access Television.
That's a name that I hear floated around when I'm out and about.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I had the same issue in Amherst.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The previous 2 organizations I was involved with were 40 years plus old. So it's a lot of history. That's a lot of, content, a lot of archived happenings and, momentum, really.
So speaking of content, you mentioned that you provide a platform for unheard voices. Mm-hmm. And so what does that mean? Like who falls into that? Or could it be all of us?
Underrepresented, members of our community, that this is the ultimate free speech vehicle for our communities, really. We have no stipulations placed on what you can do here. The only one really being that if you come in here to do something, then it goes on our channel. Mm-hmm. That's it. If you use our equipment to create something, we get some or all of that. Mm-hmm. And we have to be a fair and open resource for everybody. If somebody wants to come in here and spout off some crazy political whatever, we can't say no to that. I mean, certainly it can't be slanderous. It can't be
hurtful,
profane, or hurtful. And then, on the other hand, we have to give the opposition that same exact time and attention. And, but yeah. And I think that's part of what my job is now. After my first year, it was really kind of just getting organized, getting this place back and ready to go so that when people start coming in, and they are starting to come around.
Oh, good.
That we're ready for them.
Right.
And then as I'm moving forward, into year 2, now is about outreach. It's about me getting out, meeting some of these folks, meeting with other nonprofit organizations, getting familiar with the work they're doing, seeing how we can help them, letting them know that we're here for that purpose. And I'm excited for that, actually.
Do you have any thoughts and or ideas about how you might be able to do that for other organizations? Or are you just kind of not wanting to plant that seed and see what arises? as far as creating new content?
Well, I guess first and foremost, what we want to be able to represent is that resource for people to do what they need to do to further their cause or their mission. Meaning, if they want to create PSAs or if they want some sort of videos created, if Senior Services wants to come in here and have us, help them create some content that is then pushed out to that population to help, again, with whatever message they're trying to get out to the community. We're here for that. I think the biggest piece of this for us, unfortunately, is that we're just very short-staffed. I've got myself and my team here of 2 people. We don't have the time to be able to go out and do all these things for people.
Right.
Ideally, we would like to be able to, appeal to their need for these sorts of things and then have them find some folks within their organization who would either volunteer or what have you to come in here, get trained, and then we can help them do whatever they need to do in a support role. So,
let's talk about that and funding, because I don't think folks really understand how do you mind talking about how that works and how moving forward, things are changing really rapidly for you and your work.
Yeah.
And how that's going to look and what your vision is for 2023 and how that, if it ties in.
So the puzzle basically looks like this. The city contracts with the cable provider, or I guess technically the cable providers contract with their respective communities, municipalities. In Massachusetts, that's actually town by town, does that individually. I've been in situations where it's actually the state that does that negotiation to allow for business within the state. But in Massachusetts, each town signs essentially what's known as a franchise agreement with the cable providers.
And that's a pretty heavily regulated industry, isn't it?
In certain respects, yes. The cable end of it more so.
Right.
But now we're seeing, every cable provider is also an internet provider as well.
Right.
And they are not actually regulated on that part. And that's where they're making most of their money.
Right.
So the city will enter into a contract, a 10-year agreement, we'll say, with the cable company to basically allow for right-of-way over the existing wires and the infrastructure to be able to transmit their service. And so as a part of that, the cable company agrees to essentially profit share a certain percentage. And then that is for the purposes of community media or public access. And that's how it all started, was that as this infrastructure was being built out back in the 70s, we'll say, communities were like, well, you're running your wires through our town, how, we need to get some sort of way to get on.
It's a good deed. It's an olive branch. It's a partnership-ish.
Sort of, yeah.
Ish.
Ish, for sure.
Yeah.
So, at this point, all of our funding comes from that franchise agreement. We then contract with the city to provide services for the city.
Yeah.
And then basically the city's passing that money through to us.
And you have 2 communities that you're working with?
We work with Easthampton and Southampton.
Yeah.
So, very different population sizes, population densities. So, Easthampton has a lot more folks here. So that translates to...
Well, it's a different character also.
And the character, but in terms of the actual dollar amount that we're receiving, there's a pretty major discrepancy there. But that doesn't really matter. Ultimately, we're here just as much for Southampton as we are for Easthampton.
Right. I get that.
This is their place too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we are, that's it. So what does that mean for us in terms of, now that people are moving away from cable and myself included.
Myself as well. I just had
right.
that conversation with you.
That's not great for us. I mean, the cable company doesn't care either way. They're making money on the other end.
Right.
Everybody wants internet service, so
right.
that's where they make all their money. But certainly that dip in revenue and cable revenues
right.
equates to us having less funding going
right.
forward. It's a big problem.
Right. And it's a big problem for what you do and what you need to do it requires a lot of money.
Yeah.
These microphones that we're talking into right here, I don't even know. But the lights, the cameras, all of, and then you're
our overhead really is the biggest thing.
Right.
I'm understaffed. I
right.
could easily use one more full-time person without a question.
Yeah.
2 would be fantastic.
Right. Imagine.
But that's where we're suffering. This equipment, we buy this one time. I can write a grant, to buy capital. People are giving money away for capital all the time. But it's those things, the operational part of this.
Administration.
And those things, our rent, our the electricity to run the lights.
Yes, I know.
All that stuff is not getting cheaper.
Yeah.
And so we have to figure out how are we going to fill that gap. And so there are a number of ways we're looking at to try to fundraise, to try to get sponsorships and underwriting and that sort of thing, so that we can essentially try to make up for that lost revenue.
Right.
The bigger part of the problem, though.
And we can become members.
That's correct. Right. I mean, we have a whole membership structure now that we've sort of retooled.
On your website.
We're rolling that out with the new website, and as of really January 1.
Nice.
So, yeah, I mean, we're hoping that, people will see the value in what we have to offer. And by people, I also mean organizations such as yourself.
I don't even have the vocabulary really to stress how I feel about what the potential is of what it is that you and I are talking about, A, right now, and B, the power and the potential reach of a podcast and helping to get your story out,
Yeah.
So it's, why would you not want to do it?
And everything that happens here can be a podcast now.
Why wouldn't you want to do it?
It's just that simple.
No, thinking of podcast number 2 in the back of my head.
2 more mouse clicks in Jackson's.
Right.
And we've got a podcast version. So, so there's that. The other thing is that we are meeting people where they are. So we are streaming, right? This wasn't a thing a year ago.
No.
We just invested in a whole brand new playback system for our channels. So everything that's going out on cable is also going out online at the same time. So that's great. That's an awesome service that we're able to offer.
It's incredible. Imagine
However,
the power of that.
It's amazing. Yeah. Anybody can get us now. Anybody can watch our channels 24/7.
And any one of you can come and sit and do this or in the podcast studio. And be in the world. Put yourself out there.
Exactly it.
Quote yourself. It's a new thing I'm doing.
All right. So I feel like, we are kind of putting it out there. Like we're making the investment, in our facility, in our equipment, in the services we're offering. We're closed captioning now, live meetings, these things that are important, that we know people want.
And that's
we're trying to meet them.
And that sort of thing, closed captioning, it's not it's not just something that you do. There's equipment involved. Cost involved. It's
not cheap.
Right. Yeah. But your part of your mission, it seems to me, is to be accessible to all. 100%. So that's, eventually you have to be investing in that stuff. And that's another cost.
Yes.
Rock on.
So, I feel like we're holding up our end of the bargain here.
Nice.
And we just want to get people through the door.
Yeah.
And it's not just a challenge for us. That's a challenge for community media across the country. I just attended a leadership seminar in October where I met
Where did you go?
Well, it was actually online, and
Nice.
it was offered by the Alliance for Community Media, which is the overarching sort of organization that sort of works for the interests of community media. They're the ones in Washington lobbying for funding and all that stuff. So they provided this. They do this every year, leadership training course.
And the pearl of wisdom you received from that?
Oh, too many. I could make a big long necklace worth.
Excellent. Go ahead.
But as sort of unexpected benefit of that was my opportunity to meet and speak to people across the country who are doing what we're doing, who are facing the same challenges, who have seen, as I started to say after the pandemic now that, at one point we were responsible for this piece. Yeah. And now all of a sudden that piece has gotten to be a whole pie and then some. Right. We were contracted to live broadcast this and cover these things, and now it's actually everything. Now we're every community media or community meeting, municipal meeting, those sorts of things for both towns. Yeah. Now we are somehow responsible for all that because all of a sudden now people are like, oh, it's way better to have this on video. It's way easier to take our minutes. So we're the de facto clerks now for all of these boards and committees.
Unintended consequence.
Yeah.
Right.
But
isn't it powerful to sit with your peers from across the country? Yeah. And get input and feedback and best practices and all that sort of stuff. I went to my very first conference for executive chamber execs, and because I know that sounds glamorous. But anyways, it was so exciting. And it was such a eye-opening thing for me. And I have not been the same. Yeah. Since. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty excellent. Yeah. What is your, all of these things that you're trying to do, is there a particular one particular hurdle that stands out above all the rest besides money?
Yeah. Well, there's this myth I'm going to call it,
like
that community access, community media is dying. That
oh my word,
because everybody has a phone now, so why do they need to come here?
Oh, I'll tell you why.
Everybody can do it at home in their bedroom, and sure, yeah, if you want a crappy phone video to be your mark in this world,
sometimes that's okay and can be appropriate.
Sometimes,
right?
Certainly.
Because I still do that from time to time, running around. Yeah. But there's nothing compared to what you're providing here.
There's a huge difference in quality and capability, really. Yeah. I mean, how many lights are on us right now?
A lot.
It's a lot different than a ring light and, your phone stuck in the middle of it. And people are doing great stuff with that. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
I'm not saying that that's a bad thing.
No.
But that is certainly taking away that convenience, that all that stuff. People don't have to come here to do things. But, that's one thing. Mm-hmm. We offer a whole other level of opportunity for people here.
Right.
So, so that hurdle is, trying to get people to understand, yes, you can do it this way, but you can also do it for real here.
This way.
And that's a big difference.
Yeah.
And then our distribution platform is much bigger.
Right.
And already established. And, I can't say enough for that.
Yeah, help us understand that, because I don't know that I necessarily understand that.
So,
and
everything we produce here obviously goes on our YouTube channel.
Right.
So there's one thing. There's your already built-in YouTube channel. Your links, everything is already taken care of for you. You can get that link. We send them to you. You embed them on your website or however you want to use them. Send them out to the world. So that's done for you. But we also share all of our content with all of the other access centers, so that we have an aggregate site that we upload our content to, and if people choose to, they can download it and show it on their community stations as well.
I did not know that.
Well, now you know.
That's very cool.
And it's
So
really,
it's really the world
we
is our
can
oyster.
even provide you with the information of who to call. If you want this showing out in Framingham, or you want this showing in Boston or Manhattan or wherever,
Really?
we can network you in with those people as well.
Oh, my word.
And I don't think, I've been at this for a long time, so
Yeah.
I think I have a little bit more understanding of the possibilities for people that are doing this.
You're a man of potential.
Well,
I like that.
Probably, yeah.
I love that.
But also, I'm just aware of what some of these stations are doing, and the reach that they have.
Right.
I mean, the Newton station, Newton New TV is their access.
Right.
They won a daytime Emmy for one of their programs.
No, sir.
Straight up. I mean, they have Newton money and all that talent out of Boston and stuff.
Right.
Notwithstanding.
Yeah.
They just had an idea and they put a plan together and they made it happen. And, it was actually this show called The Folklorist, where it was basically a story, different folklore from around Massachusetts and New England. And they would kind of role play these stories and have everybody dressing up in period pieces, and they'd talk about all these different things. And it's very cool and very well done. And so, I think they deserved that Emmy.
Oh, wow.
But it's not, again, my point, I guess, being that it's not out of the realm of possibility for people to do that.
Right. And you're absolutely right. I don't think that most of us really understand what the potential could possibly be. And sometimes I think when you say to folks, it can be whatever you want it to be, you go blank because you're like, I don't know what I want it to be.
Right.
So,
and without somebody to say to you, Mo, I can put you in touch with the content manager over here and over there. And as a former content manager myself, if a producer called me and told me that they had a show that they produced, that they worked hard on, that they would like us to show on our channel, I always said yes.
Yeah. Cool.
Then why wouldn't I?
Right. So I just don't know that we all understand, the far-reaching potential of. So I'm a farmer, right?
Yeah.
And so
I didn't know that, actually.
I'm sorry, you didn't?
I don't think I did.
We have a farm,
Okay.
and we're vegetable farmers. And if you have a squash seed, right? You have one squash seed, and you plant that into the dirt, and you nurture it, and you get it to grow. That's an idea, right? You put that into the ground, an idea, and now it grows. Now you can get potentially up to 68, 70 squashes off of one plant in a season.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But now you open up those squashes, and how many new ideas or seeds are there?
Right.
Same thing.
Yeah.
We need to grow that squash plant for you.
Okay.
Get those ideas for people and get some idea generation within the community as to how they can, not even how can they, but what is it they want? What story? What is your story? What do you want to tell?
And again, that's, I think, part of how we're evolving as we're going away from sort of just the, town's archivists.
Yeah, right.
To now we want to know who people are. What are they doing? What's their story? How long have they been here?
Yes.
What does their family do? This building that we're in, the Eastworks building.
Yes.
How many people's lives were impacted by everything that happened inside of this building? And
Over how many years?
Right. Things like that are interesting.
Yeah.
And we can condense them down. That's the other part of this is the hurdle we were talking about is people aren't necessarily interested in sitting and watching something for 30 minutes or an hour. And our content, our being, again, community media content, tends to be more or less long form,
right.
4-hour city council meetings and 3.5-hour planning board meetings. And, that stuff's great for people who want to watch that.
Yes.
And even they don't generally. They just kind of fast forward to the piece that they want to see.
Right.
And then they let it go.
Right.
So, and this is rolling back to that whole thing that, people making videos on their phones, it's all short form, it's TikTok, 3 minutes, and that's our story, is 3 minutes. And so how do we compete with that? Or how do we incorporate that or recreate kind of what we're doing and then spit out a version that can be that.
But here's the thing. You are creating a thing that is not that.
Yeah.
So don't be that.
I don't want to be that,
right?
necessarily,
and so,
but I would like to be there as
right,
well.
And have that audience.
Yeah.
I get it,
Yeah.
but there is also probably as big of an audience. I'm guessing that's they're not their thing either, right? And that's where
Right.
you are.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it just all kind of boils down to us marketing ourselves.
Yeah.
Getting the word out. Getting people familiar with the opportunity that exists here.
Right.
And then us, me getting out and meeting people, going to the high school, meeting with the principal. We're trying to help them create a media department there as well. To offer training, get some of those kids involved, get them doing things that may inspire other kids to get away from their phones, to actually come here, start working with real equipment. Start working in a real production environment and get them to understand if this is something that you're interested in.
Right.
And I know that at some point there was this novelty where people were doing things with their phones, making TV shows and movies and that, but
they were?
Not really.
Oh, I missed that.
Because it didn't last very long.
Okay,
it
because I
seemed
missed
like a great idea, but there's real opportunity here. There are a lot of people working in those industries now at high levels who started in their community media centers,
right,
as volunteers,
right,
as staff people, what have you, interns. That's one thing we're really trying to build our internship program here, because this industry is not going away. Video is not going away.
Right.
It's all here to stay, and we do offer an opportunity for people to be able to come in here and get your feet wet, get some time on task, get familiar with the environment, the equipment, the things that we do, the process, and take that out into the real world. I just went to the National Broadcasters, the NAB show, our Audio Engineer Society, in New York in October, and was listening to some big time producer guys all sitting around talking about how they can't find help.
Really?
I mean, and again, not to bring up that P word again, but that created a vacuum in this industry, and not necessarily our industry, but certainly at the higher end in the real world, quote unquote, production industry, where people had to find something else to do. And so now they can't find production assistants. Now there's, and it's never been easier to start down here and work your way up fairly quickly.
And fly.
Yeah. So
get your wings.
So we can help
do
that. So that's something we're also looking at, trying to get some younger folks involved.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that helps with the, what's it called? The worker skills gap stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about your podcast room.
So the podcast room is also our Southampton broadcast facility.
Okay.
So we had basically a 9x11 room that houses the equipment that we use to do our live broadcasts from the Southampton Town Hall. And that's all that was happening in there. And there was a full-length wall-to-wall countertop there. And then just kind of random storage.
Right. Unused real estate.
Unused real estate. And I had built out a pretty decent podcast facility in Amherst.
It looks cool.
Yeah. And then so I thought, well, let's do that here as well. So,
Very
I
cool.
brought
Have you had
in
anybody
somebody
using
to low level stuff.
Yeah.
It'll start happening. Again, we're still, since it's all new to
Testing
us as
it
well,
out.
we're still trying to develop that workflow, best practices. How do we teach this? And all that, because there's so much potential in there as well.
Oh my God.
I mean, inside of our podcast room is essentially another one of these types of situations where we've got a professional broadcast switcher, multi-camera switching capabilities, live, streaming, what have you.
So you teach folks how to use all that equipment?
That's right.
Oh, that could be dangerous.
So we're working on all that right now. We're still.
So it's not quite open for everybody to just come and.
Well, we can get there very quickly.
If you had a swarm.
If somebody came in here and said, "Hey, I want to start doing a podcast,"
you'd make it happen.
We would get it.
I love that about eMedia. Yeah, we'll make it happen. Don't think twice about it.
Maybe that should be our new tagline.
We make it happen.
We make it happen.
Yes, I love it. It's pretty awesome. So I think we kind of covered all of the stuff that I wanted to ask you just during the course of common conversation. But what's up next for you and eMedia? What do you see in the next 5 years? Are you not there?
I'm not quite there.
You're just trying to
I'm 3 years out right now.
3 years.
So this is year 2. So I had mentioned, now it's time for me to get out, start circulating, meeting some folks, other community, other directors, executive directors working in the nonprofit sector, meeting people that are doing things like city space and all that stuff. And we're working on a relationship with them right now as well.
Nice.
We are making sizable investments in equipment
I know.
because we do have some big holes here that we need to fill because we do want this to be a performance venue. We are participating in the art walks now.
Nice.
So while we've got a gallery space, right? That's just I think 3 or 4 art walks in, maybe 3.
Very cool.
Enough to have our second exhibit here.
Yeah.
That's something that was sort of an unintended thing for me as well, to also be a gallery manager.
Yeah, right.
But it's cool. I like it a lot. I like the fact that we're able to work with artists in that way now. And so we'd like to bring in people to perform during Art Walk, kind of have that as a thing that we're doing monthly, and then expand on that as well, to start having more live stuff happening here. Theater, what have you.
Really? How cool is that?
Yeah. So that requires us to sort of reconfigure things here, and kind of go away from what the initial intended purpose for the space was.
Which was,
it was all of those things.
I thought it was always supposed to be performance.
But it was also not configured to be something that was customizable.
Yeah, flexible.
Right? Not terribly flexible.
Yeah,
with respect to especially like our lighting and that sort of thing. We need to be able to use things that are over there and we're meant to stay over there.
Right.
We need to be able to pull them into this part of the room.
Right. So you need a more modular.
That's one thing.
Yep. Space.
We need audio equipment. We need, some new editing. Our unfortunately, the cost of the build out was such that it sort of precluded a lot of
the equipment
necessary upgrades to equipment, that sort of thing. And then, our broadcast server was on its last legs when we finally replaced it this summer.
Of course.
So for me, getting out into the community, meeting people, looking for alternate sources of funding, securing some sponsorship and underwriting, again, to support the cost of streaming. Because while I told you how we're funded, I didn't mention the fact that because we're streaming, and that means that people don't have to be cable subscribers to watch our channels,
right?
That we're essentially helping the thing that's killing us. So we know
the cure is your worst disease.
Yeah. So we're in a position now where I can say, look, we're streaming. We can get your name out there. We can, show you are a sponsor or an underwriter. We have that sort of promotional mechanism. Our new website will be a huge.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, because in order for folks to take advantage of, what you have to offer, how do they find out about any of that stuff?
I mean, our existing website's still intact.
Okay.
And, I'd say, stop in, see us here.
So this is what I think also too, maybe many folks don't necessarily understand, is that it's very informal and friendly here. You could easily, I could just come walking in and say, hey guys, I got this idea. What do you think about this? And you're like, yeah, Mo, let's do that. I'm like, okay, when? And you're like, well, how about now? And I'm like, okay. It's like, it's that.
Well, I don't want to set that precedent necessarily.
Well, but it's that easy. Or, how about next month or whatever it is. But
there are very few barriers.
You guys are very eager to help.
What we are here to do is to help empower people to do this themselves. And so, ideally somebody comes in and says, hey, I have an idea, help me learn how to do it, versus, hey, I've got an idea, I want to come in your studio and you produce it for me. We would prefer that people, have some help, or that we have a network of people. That's the other bigger piece here, is that we need to start generating some real membership here, and some volunteers and folks that we can contact and say, hey, so-and-so is doing a show here, who's available to help out.
Right.
And that's where, again, having interns is very helpful. Maybe getting some students from the schools. And then we do have that sort of base. All we need is a half a dozen, serious volunteers.
Right, it's not that big.
That are available. I mean, I've got Jackson back there. This is a one-man show right now.
I know.
It's not that hard.
He's amazing.
So,
Nice. I would say that, it's not scary. You guys made it very comfortable to come in. And I, it just so happens that I tend to be an extrovert, but I also think you and your team have helped me become a better person and a better question asker. And I feel like there's so much more for me to learn. And I think you guys support me in getting to my full potential in what it is that we're trying to create here. So I appreciate that very much.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, so it's not scary
and it's great to watch the transition, to watch how you started.
Yeah.
Watching how you are improving as a host and the quality of the guests you're bringing in here. And this is really a great part of what we do.
Yeah.
Getting to meet all the folks you're bringing in here, and that helps us as
our
well.
Our community and our business folks and and it doesn't necessarily have to be, as long as you have a good story, let's hear it.
Yeah.
Right? All right. Is there anything that I did not hit on that you wanted to bring out to the world?
No, I think you did a great job.
Thanks. You did too.
All the bases.
Yeah. I look forward to a lot of partnerships between the Chamber and eMedia, and a lot of putting out a lot of good stuff into the world. All right. So thank you so much for being here with me today.
Pleasure.
Jeff Mastroianni. Thank you, eMedia, for helping us make us look and be the best that we can be. And where can people find you?
easthamptonmedia.org.
Nice.
Facebook, Instagram,
all of it.
Easthampton Media. Yeah.
Nice. So many thanks. And if you want more information about Easthampton Media, check out their website. If you want to know more about the Chamber, check out our website, which is easthamptonchamber.org. You can listen or hear any of our podcasts. That includes Drop the Mic and Mind Your Own Business on either YouTube channel, either the eMedia YouTube channel or our YouTube channel, or anywhere that you hear, watch, or listen to podcasts. So I encourage you to hit that like button, ring the bell, subscribe, and help us share all of this really interesting, good stuff that eMedia is doing and all of our businesses that we get to talk to. So I appreciate it.
All right.
Peace out, babies.